Welcome to the battlefield of brains, where strategy meets chaos and every move burns with intensity. Watch grandmasters clash, pieces fall, and legends rise. Ahmed Adly opens with 1. e4. Opening. He storms the center like a general. Pawn to e4 seizes central squares, frees queen and bishop for action. Pure classical flair. Wesley So answers 1. Pet. Antenmuin. Anytime. c5. The Sicilian snarl. Pawn c5 immediately contests e4, creates asymmetry and counterplay. Wesley calmly says, "I'll carve my own lane." Nenden. Enchien. Ahmed plays 2. Nf3. Knight gone to f3, realistic development. Eyes d4 and f5, ready to hop into the fight and pressure black's center. Wesley plays 2 Twanstu. Nnin. Una. Einmai. Nanya. Piliin. X. Pawn 7 to 6, a tough little shield, stabilizes, e5, prepares Dotku. No. Nf6 and keeps the Sicilian flexible and full of bite. Ahmed storms, with 3 toy. d4, pawn d2 to d4, forcing the central battle. White wants trades to open lines and bring his pieces screaming into the fray. Wesley replies, 3 toy chin, in Moreno toyen. En Merton istionuver, en iston yester so. cx4, pawn c5. Captures pawn on d4, c5x4, black cashes in the center, and says, "Let's simplify, then counterattack." Enne, mission wipsi, Persian, unduruo diche. Ahmed retorts, "For Perste, im Demösia, no win subshensen hate." In ext4, knight f3 jumps to d4, capturing that pawn. Development plus recapture. White keeps strong central presence and tactical possibilities alive. Wesley replies 4. Panois hidden. Andamin. In, do, po. Nf6. Knight gate to f6, attacking e4 and preparing to contest the center. Standard, efficient, and a touch menacing. Ahmed plays 5. Nc3. Knight bone to c3, solidifying d5 control and supporting e4. Pieces harmonize for a potential kingside storm. Wesley plays 5 to piliin. Annabian Colby. On now. In Janute, in Piobushi. A6, pawn a7 to a6, a prophylactic Sicilian footwork, prevents nb5 and prepares b5 later. Subtle long-term logic, not flashy. Ahmed advances 6 pint. 4. Pawn f2 to f4, a bold shove toward e5 and g5. Ahmed signals he's going all in on kingside heat. Wesley answers 6 taunturi. Undersöker Windows-Motion, Messigia. Enon Niwin. Nantizania. E6, pawn e7, to e6, blunting e5 advances and freeing the dark square bishop, pragmatic and tidy under pressure. Ahmed plays 7 Toren, Ixoloren Churobenes Sirius, Pandadira. Qf3, queen done to f3, aggressive posting, eyes g4, and the king side, supporting the f-pawn and smelling tactical targets. Wesley plays 7 Tort. Seni. Nisto. NBD7. Knight bite to 7, reinforcing f6 and c5 control. Wesley prepares to rebuff white's incitements with steady structure. Ahmed holds 8, Portun. e4, pawn g2 to g4, all-out wing charge. Ahmed is daring the fortress to crumble and wants immediate mayhem on the king side. Wesley replies 8 Pernis Abonisen, Togus Section Yeshitsenatsiopen. Ninen. Ninen. Pis, Omeas Senet, Penbea. 6. Pawn h7 to h6, a practical wedge that stops g5 infiltration and gives black breathing room, modest but necessary. Ahmed develops 9. Ports. bd3, bishop f1 to d3, eyes the king side like a hot spear. It supports g6 ideas, and teams up with those hungry pawns. Wesley replies 9. Pilwelchis. Int. Qb6, queen day to b6, aiming at b2 in the long diagonal, a little psychological poke at white's queenside cohesion. Ahmed retreats 10. Tulolonjokian, ignores the destination. Knight d4, back to b3, preserving the knight and preparing c5 or a5 jumps while avoiding any nasty pins. Wesley sidelines with 10 Torche. Neoenes Semenia. Einata. Qa7, queen b6 to 7, a safe square with continued pressure along the c-file and diagonal, patient and purposeful. Ahmed pushes 11, Tiyornu, and Yuknis to Pikshen. h4, pawn h2 to h4, doubling down on the kingside assault. He wants to pry open files and toss black's defense into disarray. Wesley snaps 11. Istomazatio, alnatoli kudis. Oh. a5, pawn h6 to a5, blocking the h-file and fixing structure. Pragmatic blockade that says, not today, Ahmed. Ninanji. Ahmed thunders 12. Gaiv. Pawn g4 to g5, chasing away the knight on f6 and turning the king's side into a volcanic hot zone. Wesley strikes 12. Pim. N. More restes simonenes, they must tempia detpil, and be betricier. Indian. Estanen. I, and so on. Ng4. Knight f6 to g4, infiltrating white's camp, iz3, and f2, threatening forks and making Ahmed squirm. Ahmed sacrifices space with 13. G6, pawn g5 to g6, a human torch. He rips open lines and tests Wesley's king's safety with raw aggression. Wesley responds, 13. Obenissemnien. Inyanuan. In Milta Bushaneshte. Kemmeji. And Z. Fxg. Pawn in f7. Captures. Pawn on g6. F7xg. Neutralizing the pawn, but conceding some dark square weakness. Material recovered. Structure altered. Ahmed calmly plays 14. Bd2. Bishop Cone to d2. Redeploying with purpose, he consolidates and keeps pressure options alive while the kingside boils. Wesley develops 14. Perisedemena, et pendishin optium denex is, optimoven, eschedustena. D. Nilba. Is7, bishop fight to is7, finishing kingside development and preparing to castle or trade when convenient. Ahmed charges, 15. Whore. e5. Pawn e4 to e5, striking into black's camp. An energetic central push that cramps black and smells like fresh tactics. Wesley castles, 15. Menapinish sednish. In the Zido, in the Pennon, to rule the Sinai. O, king to gate, and rook to fight. Wesley seeks safety while his pawn structure faces Ahmed's simmering inferno. Ahmed retreats 16. Queen2, queen f3 to e2, repositioning to support f5 pressure and keep an eye on the kingside fireworks. Wesley plays 16. Anta. Alice. d5, pawn 6, captures, pawn e5, d6 f5, liquidating the center and opening lines for his pieces to breathe. Ahmed ignites 17. Inobis and is 17. Bxg, bishop d3. Captures pawn, on g6, bxd-gg6, a sharp capture that rips open black's kingside and threatens f7 and h7 squares. Wesley replies 17. In Tobe, in Mind Seredwishint Anoktrien. Nors, Pedzin, Ananben So is 10 and Anor Veromia. Omingji. Ndf6. Knight 7 to f6, Ndf6, rushing to blunt the attack and contest those all-important g4 e4 squares. Ahmed strikes 18. Poliuris 10. Bxf5. Bishop, gnx captures, pawn on h5, bxh5, scooping material and puncturing black's pawn shield. The attack smells victory. Wesley replies 18 pawn, penance. Undai. Nenemos sholim, iwas saman, in intenso. In x5, knight f6, captures, on hi5, nf6 h5, taking that bishop back. Wesley trades heat for solidity, pragmatic and composed. Ahmed punishes with 19. Q8 h4, queen e2 captures, knight on g4, q8 c4, removing the intruder and restoring material while keeping the pressure hot. Wesley calmly plays 19. And 20. Nf6, knight h5, returns to f6, recentralizing the last knight and bracing the king side like an old veteran. Ahmed probes with 20. Q5, queen g4 to g5, probing f6 and iyong g7. He's sniffing weaknesses and pressuring Wesley's slightly exposed monarch. Wesley answers 20. Inai, eca, n6. Nende. x4, pawn from e5 captures, pawn on f4, f4, grabbing material and prying apart white's pawn cover. Wesley's counterplay begins with serious intent. Ahmed lifts 21. b4, bishop on d2 lunges to f4, gobbling the pawn on f4. A beautiful strike reclaiming material and keeping the initiative. Ahmed roars back into the fight. Wesley snaps back with 21. Ahmed Adly. Queen 7, 2 centralizing and eyeballing f4, c2 and f3. Wesley tightens the screws, waiting for counterpunches. Ahmed reinforces with 22. Agone, Rukhona slides to Gon, joining the kingside arsenal like heavy artillery rolled to the front line. Wesley coolly answers, 22, Adem. Nekarai. No. Rf7, Rook fights sidesteps to f7, connecting the back rank and preparing defensive formations, the general shuffling troops. Ahmed presses 23. Qg2, Queen g5, retreats to g2, regrouping behind the rook like a sniper reloading, ready to aim again at c7. Wesley exchanges 23. Ndadi. Q8 g2. Queen captures on g2. Q8 d2, trading the ladies and draining some chaos from the board. Calm under fire. Ahmed recaptures 24 Roti. Rx d2. Rook Gon takes back on g2, keeping the open file and strong activity, though the attack's blaze dims slightly. Wesley plays 24. He entered in now. And in c. N4, knight f6 to e4. Planting a strong outpost right in white's face, a steel wedge in the board center. Ahmed meets it with 25. bj5, bishop 4 jumps to g5, pinning and provoking, his pieces buzzing with defiance. Wesley cuts 25, Dideroin. Nandi. Ninjanen. In mo win planen. Dik sebisumes chezerit. In the daylight. Bxd5. Bishop e7. Captures bishop on g5, reducing attacking firepower. The surgeon's calm precision. Ahmed hits back 26. Hxc5. Pawn, h4 captures, bishop on g5, opening the h-file once again. His pawns look like furious soldiers avenging their commander. Wesley counters, 26. Anchini. Ananda. Estalkidulias, Henenode de Zetron, Achtolido that Falden in China. Knight e4 captures, pawn on c3, stabbing at the queen's side, a counterattack from the shadows. Ahmed responds 27. Bxt3, pawn b2, takes back on c3, patching the hole but doubling pawns. Still, the center remains under his control. Wesley calmly, 27, tips down. And Internalrendatin, in the lectures tiwa. f5, pawn e6 to f5, staking central space, freeing the bishop, and daring white to challenge. Ahmed castles, long with 28. Oh, the king flees queenside safety, linking rooks ready for an endgame war. Wesley solidifies 28. Eastern. In the door, and a manimidai said he, and sin, in a penajit sepiot shan. Bf5, bishop e6 to 5, planting a well-placed piece to target c2, and defend the Black Kingdom. Ahmed fortifies 29. Pessun, Kineshiwaliun, Ischumune. Rione, rook done slides to Aone, staring down the e-file, ready to hammer the open lines. Wesley echoes, 29, Pets. Einen. Ende der Tannenbunto Liedchen Sedden, as said the NSC. Re8, rook f7, over to 8, countering on the same file, sparks fly between twin rooks facing off. Ahmed shuffles, 30, pen. Knight b2 and knight b3 to d2, repositioning for defense and eyeing f3 or c4. Steady breathing before the next clash. Wesley brings 30 pitch. Anton. Anidio away. IC7. Rook 8 to 7. Doubling power on the c-file, pressure building like a storm cloud. Ahmed doubles 30 pawn, to win it. Re3. Rook Aone to e3, linking his forces with flexibility, maybe eyeing g3 for tactical stings. Wesley mimics, 30 perit, petty 1. Nitsine. Ande. IC5. Rook 7 to c5, tightening the noose around the c3 pawn, sleek and efficient play. Ahmed shifts 32. Quit. Knight d, 2 hops, to b3, covering weak squares, shielding the c5 lines. The knight turns guardian. Wesley counters, 32. Niaren. Eintonoseen. Engestori anenaimen. Unde. Heir d5. Rook c5 to d5. Sliding laterally to attack from another angle. Multitasking, menace. Ahmed advances 33. g6. Pawn g5 to g6, a flaming spear once more. Ahmed wants chaos even in the endgame. Wesley defends 33. Inde. Nanternin. Heir d6. Rook d5, back to d6, forming a solid block, keeping g6 in check while maintaining tension. Ahmed prepares 34. rg5. Rook g2, swings back to g5, looking to double fire with rg3, relentless pressure. Wesley fortifies 34. Endauer 9. 901. Dette Zeus Panestolo, as Königspan, in Schenkanentpö. rf6. Rook d6, 6 steps to f6, neutralizing the file. He's holding the line like an iron wall. Ahmed pressures 35. N4. Knight b3 back to d4, heading toward f5. The knight becomes a spear point. Wesley retaliates 35. Morbisisted. In the testation. En moinem meum, en der sulai. bx. Bishop 5 captures. Pawn on g6, slicing through Ahmed's last kingside pawn hope. Ahmed strikes 36. Rex a5. Rook e3 captures, pawn on a5, roaring back into action, clearing central debris and demanding trades. Wesley responds 36. Us. N.D. Cat7. King h steps to h7, calmly sidestepping danger, a momentary pause in the storm. Ahmed swings 37. Perdi otiu endoses sui, in detta ruinous image, hetin. Heir c8. Rook e5 takes rook on 8, trading power for peace, or is it a trap? Wesley responds 37. Intis. Anindane. Bishite. Bishop g6 recaptures on 8, rebuilding his structure. Clean, cold precision. Ahmed reorganizes 38. Tatboy. Re5. Rook g5 returns to e5, ready to probe weaknesses, sharp and steady. Wesley plays 38. Petsion widget pain, demuchen miglen, and mortmain. Modalin. Instant painin. Always, and French. Inchinan. Insanai, mumestol, inimiste, inisti. bf7. Bishop e8 to f7, stabilizing his ranks. That bishop now a proud sentinel over dark squares. Ahmed slides 39. a4. Pawn at 2 to a4, starting queenside expansion. He's not done fighting yet. Wesley mirrors 39. Nine opponent. And down, aboard the show. Ijanda session, vet kapawe, in the. And in ten penny. And yan you will. J6, pawn G7, to G6, rebuilding his pawn wall, patching every hole Ahmed made earlier. Ahmed moves 40. KD2. King Cone steps to D2, entering the fray, ready for the coming endgame. Wesley answers 40 testendidangs in, und owas, kenchibandioi. Instantly. Well. K6, King A7 glides to H6, moving into command. The generals are meeting mid-board, and the war shifts to the final act. Ahmed plays 41. Herenisse, Pendopwinawent, Pensonopediwen. Re7, Rook F5 glides up to A7, cutting deep into enemy lines. He's slicing through the 7th rank like a saboteur behind enemy walls, ready to steal pawns or sow chaos. Wesley calmly replies, 41, Beturning a west, at Gowenage to Medun. Mandy and Medjay, Mill Wests, Pet Muyastown. Monterian. Bix. Pawn B7, advances to B6, tightening the fortress around his king. A quiet but steel-nerved defense that says, you'll get nothing for free. Then. Ahmed counters, 42, to Bredan here. A5, pawn A4 marches to A5, hammering the queenside gate, declaring, if I can't burn the kingside, I'll storm the flank instead. Wesley responds, 42. On the seal. Omen, Gemashen, Chesedel. B. Safif, pawn B6, captures. Pawn on A5. The wall breaks open, but the defender holds ground. Clean, cold, mechanical precision. Ahmed Lungas, 43. Re5. Rook E7 drops to F5, re-centralizing like a knight in shining armor, pivoting to wherever the next explosion happens. Wesley coolly mirrors, 43. Der Stener Sin, Chester dem Nor, Hecken besignen, or Kiden so. Endil, in Yenan Wani, and the Imoror is Tui, Ainanit Anna. Endil, and ja, Pepin, Woman, or Melwayan, and Iron, or Bekatino Simba. A4, pawn A5 to A4, creating his own passed pawn. A dangerous counterblow that says, two can play this game. Ahmed snaps, 44. Ra5, Rook E5 sidesteps and drops to A5, blocking the pawn's advance, the rook standing tall like a concrete wall. Wesley steers, 44. Oldmine Benichen, Hechtit Forse. In C. E5, pawn G6 to G5, turning defense into defiance. He reopens the kingside with a menacing growl. Ahmed strikes, 45. Axe f4. Rook f5 captures pawn on f4, claiming the invader's head. White's rook now commands the open file like a lion atop the ruins. Wesley counters 45. Jest pay. Ininistayote. Indoben modezet pay. Indescina. g4. Pawn to g4, thrusting forward with ferocity, looking to carve a passage for his king and pawns. Chaos returns. Ahmed steadies 46. k3. King d2 moves to e3, joining the battle and centralizing power. The monarch marches to war. Wesley charges 46. Andesinan. In 1 des 7. Penimrojero, Chalatai. e3. Pawn g4 to g3. A dagger toward the white king's heart. That pawn suddenly feels like a demon on the loose. Ahmed reacts 47. Penowonichtainoinen. Imores siok chainant. Then f3. Knight d4 leaps to f3, rushing to intercept the pawn. The white knight becomes a bodyguard in shining armor. Wesley escalates 47. Punazai. Andese. Penobun. Animayan stolizik. And Ibsenin. And then the Naishi. g2. Pawn g3 to g2, one step from queening. The crowd gasps as Wesley's pawn screams down the board like a black bullet. Ahmed blocks 48. Raone. Rook a4 slides back to a1, covering the promotion square just in time. A cinematic save, one move before disaster. Wesley pivots 48. Post oh. Inmayan. Umaday. Hindian. Inatidain. And Isorno. Ilokra. bc4. Bishop f7 swings to c4. A cold-blooded move cutting across the board, guarding the pawn and slicing diagonals like a sniper. Ahmed braces 49. Rogain. Rook a1 slides to Gon, lining up directly with the nightmare pawn, the rook ready to exorcise the demon. Wesley presses 49 tetanextu. Nestamon. Estemon. Ninjans. Und once sie kawasten, und et Rokshienstein. bd5. Bishop c4, returns to d5, calmly shielding the pawn's base, and preparing for the long grind. Ahmed breathes fire 50. rxd2. Rook Gon captures pawn on g2, finally purging the monstrous pawn and regaining peace. A moment of relief amid ruins. Wesley responds 52. Yan. Istumoy meine kondiste. Hetlionia na siwilan. Estat aniside. Ins. bxf3. Bishop d5 captures. Knight on f3. Taking revenge instantly. The counter-strike lands like lightning. Ahmed mourns but fights. 51. Paris. Artetivo. Rook g2 checks on h2, forcing the black king into the open, one last roll from the attacker. Wesley steps 51. Teddy no win is sin, in we would in enchanted. Nenna. Was entity. Oh. KD7. King h6 to g7, calmly sidestepping the check, eyes locked on the counterplay ahead. Ahmed regroups. 52. Ra4. Rook h2, lifts to h4, guarding the rank and preparing to hit the king's side again. Relentless spirit from Ahmed. Wesley. Rolls 52. And there was this stinger in the wall. A5. Pawn a4 to a5. Another pass pawn joins the fray, marching with deadly intent. Ahmed stabilizes. 53. rc4. Rook h4 swings to c4, blocking the pawn's advance and maintaining the fight for the open files. Wesley parries. 53. Ninges, inselordmis, en abdent pawn. In. And sell. bgx. Bishop f3 steps back to chinix, commanding long diagonals like an emperor surveying conquered land. Ahmed continues. 54. rc5. Rook c4 slides to c5, daring the bishop to flinch. He's trying to slow the advance with tactical grit. Wesley smirks. 54-10. And Ambolia, Tini. Int 10. Anadini. a4. Pawn a5 to a5. Still marching forward. That black pawn is now the spear of destiny heading straight for glory. Ahmed reinforces. 55-32. ra5. Rook c5 drops to r5, blocking the pawn again. He's building barricades one move at a time. Wesley mobilizes. 55. Finish. Oh now is Sani. Hen was stakhiwan, esta destin, esta ludisjois. Undead 1. Kf7. King a7 to s7, stepping closer to the center. The monarch joins the fight, smelling victory on the horizon. Ahmed steadies. 56. kd2. King e3, retreats to d2, repositioning defensively. This is now pure endgame warfare. Wesley strides. 56. Iyong. k6. King 7 to e6, strong and confident. Wesley's king marches into enemy territory like a conquering hero. Ahmed mirrors. 57. Portia. Kone. King d2 to Kone, staying close to his pawn fortress. It's a quiet retreat, but the eyes still burn with resistance. Wesley calmly plays. 57. Tornantion. Inventionen. And Elwimanen. Kenawis. Atdo. kd6. King a6 to z6, consolidating. Black's coordination now feels inevitable, mechanical, merciless. Ahmed slides. 58. Port. kb2. King Kone to b2, approaching the queenside front. Maybe he dreams of counterplay, but the black tide keeps rising. Wesley tightens, 58. Pantumel. Knee. RF2. Rook f6 to f2, invading the second rank, cutting supply lines. The rook's shadow looms like doom. Ahmed tries 59. Re7. Rook f5 jumps to a7, seeking counterchances on the 7th rank, a final flash of defiance. Wesley presses 59. Patki. Int. K5. King 6 steps to c5, escorting his pawns. The black king is now a tank rolling forward. Ahmed clings 60. Rafive. Rook is7 checks on a5, desperate to slow the machine, but Wesley's position won't crumble. Wesley parries 60. Iyong ken, unano kiwet churpish, iyong. Milwish soon. Ken fenderwye, kemenimus tenirsit. Ninanansid, indiravo, indicomais. KD6, King 5 slides back to 6, unshaken, patient, purposeful, unstoppable. Ahmed readjusts, 61. Re7. Rook f5 to a7 again, circling back, hoping for miracle checks. Wesley calmly replies 61. Pedestiu moriante, Penois 61. Estes. Anton. Ikabobine siwe. Ijadesheki. Re2. Rook f2 to a2. Eyeing the white king's flank, the net tightens, every file feels poisoned. Ahmed clings on 62. Pasionel renaisene, esteu huevano mesedage destien. Rafiv. Rook is 7, back to a5, a dance of desperation. Wesley answers, 62. Neo. Nandanin, Nandenja. K7. King 6 moves to 7, creeping forward again, relentless advance resumes. Ahmed stabilizes, 63. RC5. Rook a5 slides to c5, interposing, last-ditch blockade attempt. Wesley swarms 63. Pest. Esther. And Ewanin, and Monoids handandage, and the a day, in Mianya. Oren. KB6. King 7 to b6, now side by side with the advancing pawns, the end is drawing near. Ahmed resists 64. RC4. Rook c5 to c4, trying to hold the fort one last time. Wesley grinds 64. And away. And Miwin. And Kennen case Zerun, Ebo Wistish. KB5. King, b6, to b5. Pushing deeper, now threatening to crush white's structure flat. Ahmed covers 65 do. RB4E. Rook c4 to b4, giving check, praying for a slip. Wesley coolly replies, 65. Ennesenjan. En meori keines schoben. Hisenol. Ein. K5, King B5 to A5, not even flinching, the black monarch's crown shines brighter. Ahmed defends 66. re4, Rook B4 slides to H4, returning to the king's side like a ghost from earlier wars. Wesley sneers, 66. Is. Before, Bishop G6 slides to E4, reclaiming the center, controlling everything, elegant dominance. Ahmed checks survival, 67. R5. Rook H4 checks on HF5, hoping to gain tempo. Wesley calmly, 67. Pendir wo nude, piliin. Inden. Monorish Sulias. Nidium. KB6, King F5 to B6, tucking back into safety, nothing to fear anymore. Ahmed repeats 68. re6, Rook A5 checks, from H6, desperate rhythm of survival. Wesley steps 68, Pest 8. Inbenan. Nende. Einent Sikende. Uwurus Jubenistoptia. K5, King Base, to C5, advancing with no hesitation, kingside to queenside control complete. Ahmed holds 69. R5. Rook 6 checks again on A5, stubborn, but fading. Wesley counters, 69. Este. Unende. Pen. K4, King C5 to C4, infiltrating deep, the Black King now owns the board. Ahmed covers 72. R4. Rook A5 slides to H4, shielding the last rank, exhausted but unyielding. Wesley smashes, 70t. Instundagien, oder Netchen, Fedbesinis Krobili, Edge. Unatite. Rxet to 1. Rook F2 captures pawn on C2. Boom. Material collapse. Black's domination becomes total. Ahmed gasps. 71. Torche. Tor. K3. King B2 flees to A3, cornered like a hunted lion. Wesley drills 71. Torch, kill. Ande. Anizene. Re2. Rook C2, retreats to E2, centralizing again, preparing the final sweep. Ahmed rallies 72. RD4. Rook H4 to G4. Seeking counterplay, desperate sparks in the darkness. Wesley replies, 72. Ian. Insteady, Omariolish. In. Andais, Kenai. C5. King C4 to C5, cool and confident, every move now feels inevitable. Ahmed claws 73. K4. King A3 captures pawn on A4. A final act of defiance, taking one last trophy. Wesley calmly 73. Manuel Castillo, Daniel Bori. Nen. Enison, Einstein. BD5. Bishop, E4 to D5, cutting off all escape. The hunter closes in. Ahmed struggles 74. Kafive, King A4 to A5, shuffling away but nowhere left to run. Wesley sharpens 74. Neon, Peliosten. Andere, Induon Sediciner 1, Ketchis, and Renolius Endertang. RCTU, Rook E2 to C2, setting up mating nets and pawn promotion threats alike. Ahmed pleads 75. Ra4, Rook G4 slides to H4, a defensive whisper. Wesley answers 75 Pesci. Enan. One Tinus. Arik C3. Rook C2. Captures pawn on C3. Another blow. Material mountain grows. Ahmed braces 76. RD4. Rook H4. Back to G4. The lonely defender still circling. Wesley coldly 76. Nil may. Endil. R3. Rook C3 to H3. Domination complete. Rook slides to the third rank like a guillotine blade. Ahmed shuffles 77. Perutay. Imwes sebetameganester popte. R4. Rook G4 slides to Fower, maybe dreaming of perpetual checks that will never come. Wesley replies 77. Endinent. Needici. Edel Warnidistay. And Jibanonen. Estedenis Suai. Right. Rook Hake 3. Retreats to height, the finishing pose. Methodical, ruthless. Ahmed Gas, 78, RF6, Rook Fower to F6, one last charge into the black camp. Futile bravery. Wesley cuts, 78, Tort. Anti always bay, and Cindy, and waits. Before, Bishop D5 glides to E4, controlling everything, the board suffocates. Ahmed sighs 79. Re6, Rook F6 steps to E6. Final desperate shuffle. Wesley, seals it, 79. Inden. Indigite. And Isoni. BG6. Bishop E4 returns to cheeks, a quiet full stop to a masterclass, and Ahmed resigns, 0-1. Wesley So stands victorious in a ruthless Sicilian battle. I end the video here. Please give me a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll keep finding the best and newest videos to share with you. Thank you so much, and I wish you all happiness and good health.